Welcome back to the Shoot Your Shot Sports Fantasy Football Lifeline Show. This is Richie Chicago, and I'm joined by our expert, Jay Ballar. As always, we are here to help
you
suck
less.
And today's show is always sponsored by Thrive Fantasy, the daily fantasy sports app for player props. This can be found on the Google Play and Apple App Store. So when you download it, use promo code Lifeline and sign up today because they will match you up to $50 on your first deposit with the minimum $20 deposit. So keep an eye out this Thursday afternoon for our Thursday night football lineup blocks. All right, so week 4 is in the books, and we have tons to cover today. So we will look at another week of more injuries and players whose stock continues to fall. We will dig deep into our first round of buys and provide our top waiver options. So, what is the latest slew of injuries from this past weekend?
Yeah, more running backs. As it turns out, the guys that touch the ball the most seems to be the ones that are going down the fastest. We got the two main ones this week. Austin Eckler is looking like he's going to be down 4 to 6 weeks, maybe longer. The way they're talking about it is a pretty serious hamstring injury. With a new quarterback, you always want to have your stars around. I do see the Chargers still running a 2-back offense, much like they did with Kelly and Eckler. I see Justin Jackson, really putting himself into that Eckler role. Guy's been pretty solid. He's not Austin Eckler, so I'm curious to see how he does. But he's somebody we'll talk about on the waiver wire this week. He should be available in most leagues, especially if you had Eckler. He's not a bad guy to pick up. The big one, Nick Chubb, he's down 4 to 6 weeks. Again, this one is on. They seem to be more on the 4 side and not the 6 side. Stefanski refuses to give like a full timeline. They did throw him on the IR. There is going to be a bye week in there, so my expectation is we're looking at the full 6 weeks, especially where Cleveland has somebody in Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson, who we'll talk about as well, who can take on that that role that Chubb was playing or that Chubb and Hunt were sharing, and let him come back to full strength. Hopefully in a playoff run where he can be really healthy down the stretch. Which, hey, they're off to a 3-1 start. They play in a pretty tough division. If they're able to get victories while Chubb is on the sideline, they're going to want him, in late December, early January if they are in the playoffs. So I expect that one to be 4 to 6 weeks. Again, Dearness Johnson, potential add there because he came out and, I'll go through some of his stats, but he came out and, he did a really good job as his replacement. Again, they were playing against the Dallas Cowboys who, gave up 303 rushing yards, but they want to run the ball in that offense, and, it's probably going to be a 2-man system. Julio Jones, most of us were watching last night. Came out in the first half, saw a slew of targets, couple catches. Definitely looks off. This is going to be an injury that lingers all year, I'm afraid. I'm not dropping him, not trying to trade him. It's just a situation we're going to have to monitor week in, week out. It's going to be depending on how he feels. Honestly, I've had Julio Jones a ton of years. It's pretty standard stuff for him. The only thing that I fear is if the Falcons get too far out of contention that they put him on the shelf. We're not there yet, but again, Calvin Ridley's stock's going to go up. Russell Gage's stock's going to go up. Hayden Hurst's stock's probably going to go up a little bit if Julio doesn't play, week in, week out. So, that'll be something that we want to monitor. Again, the Packers sat out Davante Adams again last Monday night. Didn't matter. Packers still absolutely torched the Falcons. Sounds like Adams could have played again, but with the Falcons being as bad as they are, I think they were comfortable, taking the field without him. They go into a bye this week, so he'll be 100% out of that bye. And the way Aaron Rodgers is throwing, I want Davante Adams on my team. So try to get him if you can going into the bye. Anybody that's offering you something's going to take a king's ransom to pull him off your hands, because him, with the way Aaron Rodgers is throwing, it's just got fantasy fireworks right all over it. And then Kenyon Drake, worth mentioning. He came out late in the game, there against Detroit. Not real sure what's going on there. They haven't disclosed what his injury is. They say it's not that serious. Chase Edmonds came in. He's going to be a guy that you're going to want to add if it turns out that Kenyon Drake is down for any period of time. With where we're at in this season, Chase Edmonds is probably somebody I'm trying to pick up off the waiver wire. He's probably already owned in most leagues, but I think he's someone you're going to want to stash. Kenyon Drake hasn't been the back they were expecting or what they needed to be. Chase Edmonds has definitely looked like the more explosive back there. And then O.J. Howard, guy ruptured his Achilles. He's out for the season. Again, that's an offense with a lot of weapons. Mike Evans, he's beat up. Chris Godwin, short week. I don't see him coming back to play the Bears this week either. Gronk's still there, running slow as hell. He's through the back of the end zone. Connor Brate's there. Again, Scotty Miller looked okay. Again, we're going to be dealing, this is going to be a conversation I think we have week in, week out. Like I said, I've never seen anything like it. But, those are, Howard had moved his way into a lot of lineups. He's been catching touchdowns. He'd been a favorite target of Brady, especially when somebody like Godwin's out. So you're going to need to replace him this week. There's a couple of, decent tight end options we'll discuss, a little bit later. But yeah, it's almost like, hey, we go into each week. Depth's going to be key this year, like I've said. Just cross your fingers, it's not your guy. So that's where we're at from the injury standpoint.
Yeah, I feel like it's like Russian roulette almost. Like, who's it going to be this week?
It's like I'm sitting here every time I see a guy get hit and come up slow. I'm like, oh, is this the one? Is this the next guy that's gonna go down? And Rodgers went down gingerly. He was it's just how the season, they were worried, up in the booth, like, oh man, what's going on with Rodgers? Of course, he came back out and looked just fine. So it's every week's we're gonna be holding our breath, whether it's your team or your fantasy team. These injuries, clearly we have an issue, and it's not something that's gonna get any better either. It's only gonna get worse as the season goes on, as these guys put more more time on their bodies. Looks like potentially the NFL is thinking about adding a week 18. We'll see what happens. I think that's a great idea. I think it's something they probably should have done coming into the season to buy us some more time with these COVID games. Again, with the unknowns with the Titans, we still don't know if that game is going to be on this week with the Bills. So Talked about playing Tuesdays, talked about adding a week 18. They're going to have to do something to minimize the injuries and to prevent a fallout if these COVID games continue to persist.
Definitely. So we have seen all these guys go down to injury. Whose fantasy stock is down in your eyes?
So aside from the injuries, some of the people that are rostered under 100% of leagues, I still think you keep them on your bench. I'm trying to trade them if I can, but some of them that really stand out, DJ Moore. I feel that from what I'm seeing, Teddy Bridgewater really likes Robbie Anderson. It looks like Robbie Anderson's seeing double-digit targets week in, week out. He's getting the touch to the end zone looks. DJ Moore came in really high. We were really high on him. I was really high on him. I was sometimes as early as the third round, late second. I thought he with Teddy Bridgewater could have been a number one. He put up great numbers with horrible quarterbacks last year. Again, I'm not dropping the guy, but unless I have to start him, he's just not giving me what I need to see to start him. Everybody's situation is going to be a little different, but he's one that, hey, if you can get him for cheap or you can trade him for something, he's somebody that, hey, he's still a stud guy that can go out there. But we're 4 weeks in, and he's looking like the number 2 there, not the number 1. We've talked about him every week. The Rams' backfield gets crazier yet again. Everybody was super high on Darrell Henderson going into what we felt was going to be a pretty cush matchup. And then Malcolm Brown had more touches in him. So I don't know what's going on there. We're not going to know week in, week out. Cam Akers looks like he's going to be coming back here soon. It's going to be a question mark all year. Again, all 3 guys should probably be rostered because if anybody goes down with significant injury, we'll have a better understanding. If 2 guys go down with a significant injury, we'll be even better. But it's anybody's guess who's going to be the lead running back there in LA week in, week out. AJ Green, he's got 14 catches for 119 yards on 33 targets. Some of the other guys with 33 targets are people like DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, guys that are literally winning people weeks. It looks like T. Higgins is the number one receiver in Joe Burrow's offense, not A.J. Green. I don't blame him. A.J. Green hasn't been able to catch anything. Couldn't catch a cold. Probably couldn't catch COVID if he tried. So I don't know what to do about A.J. Green. Again, I'm not dropping because the guy's a heck of a talent. He's got some lingering injuries that could pop up. Again, he's getting up there. We'll see what happens. It could have been missing a year of football. Week 8, he could catch on. Again, I'm not dropping him, but he's somebody that I'm not starting until I see something out of him. Mark Ingram, we thought of this last week again. This was a Mark Ingram game, playing against the football team out in D.C. Yet Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins outpaced him for touches. Mark Ingram's becoming a low-end flex guy that's going to be very dependent on touchdowns. Not somebody I want to start if I have to. Again, I'm not dropping him. Any injury is going to be significant to push him forward. But, he's been disappointing to this point of the year, in an offense that we thought was going to be really, really high-powered. And the last one, Michael Gallup. I've talked about him a couple times. We saw CeeDee Lamb come out and have a big game. We saw Cooper have a big game. Now we got Dalton Schultz catching passes there in Dallas. So it's a situation where, they're going to throw the ball 50 times a game probably because that defense is horrible. So Gallup still can get his touches, but until I see him, I'm not starting him.
Nice. All right, so week 5 brings actually the first bye of the year. This week, the Detroit Lions, and the Green Bay Packers will be on a bye. So what does the waiver wire look like this week to combat these injuries and the first byes?
So Stafford and Rodgers were probably being started in most leagues. Devontae Adams, he's been out, so you probably haven't been starting him. Aaron Jones has been a starter. Kenny Galladay's been a starter. Marvin Jones has been non-existent. So Hawkinson, maybe the Green Bay defense. But I think the biggest piece, you're likely going to have running backs. You're likely going to have receivers that can fill in the gaps. We have some really great streaming QB options this week based on matchups. So if you did have Rodgers, you did have Stafford, you're going to want to take a look at a couple guys here. Teddy Bridgewater. It's going up against Atlanta. Need I say more? You saw what Aaron Rodgers did to him last night. Teddy Bridgewater's coming off maybe his best game as a pro since he went down. He's somebody I'm very comfortable starting against that porous Atlanta Falcons defense. We then got Jared Goff going up against the Washington football team. You never know what he can come out and he can throw 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. Again, it's not a great football team, so great matchup there. And then Kirk Cousins, he found the deep ball. Getting Justin Jefferson going in that offense has been done wonders. Dalvin Cook's running the ball well. Thielen's putting up points. Seattle has a weak secondary. It's likely going to be a shootout between him and Russ. I don't hate it. If it was me, I'd probably go Bridgewater, then Cousins, then Goff. Some people think differently. You never know what Kirk Cousins you're going to get. I saw Atlanta take have a lot of secondary guys go down. I think Teddy might be worth the pick up there if you had Rodgers or Stafford that you weren't going to be starting this week. So, that's from a quarterback option. And from a defense option, not a lot of great streaming options this week. So go with what the projections say in your league. I'm not using a waiver claim on any defense this week. I'm kind of just running with the punches. It happens. I don't think anybody was probably starting the Detroit defense. The Green Bay defense was a maybe. So just run with what the projections of your league says. From a waiver wire standpoint, a lot of big names potentially added last week. I know I brought him up on last week's show. Alshon Jeffrey, we could see a start as early as this week. Again, we thought he might start last week. He was a late game time decision. He got scratched. There's not a lot of receiving options in Philly. We know Alshon Jeffrey can be a stud. He's played with Wentz in the past. So, hey, this time of the year, you're not going to be able to pick up too many wide receiver ones. So he would be somebody I'm throwing a waiver claim on. I was lucky enough to get him in both my leagues last week. Again, you never know. He's a guy that gets injured a lot, but with as many injuries as we've seen, he's not he's a guy I'm going to want to take a chance on. And I'm dropping potentially some people that have been playing okay if I have to get Alshon Jeffrey on my lineup. Guy I brought up earlier, T. Higgins. Clear he's the number one there with Joe Burrow. Back-to-back great weeks. He's getting the end zone targets. I got him as my number 2 pickup this week. Guy we really saw bust out last night on Monday Night Football, or I guess, Sunday night extended football with Tony Romo there on CBS. Damian Harris. Sony Michel went down. He's a guy that's injury prone as well. Damian Harris came in, took the job, rushed for over 100 yards, had a big long rush. He was raved about in the preseason. He started the year on the IR. Again, it's up to you how you want to handle it. I have personally told myself I will never own a New England Patriots running back ever, because the week that I start a Patriots running back is the week that the other running back goes off. I've only got lucky one time. I started Jonas Gray, when he scored 4 touchdowns against the Colts. I'll never get lucky again. So you still have Burkhead there. You got James White back. You now got Damian Harris, Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. You never know what those guys are going to do in a week. But Damian Harris looked good. If you need a running back right away, he's my number 3. Just because he could be the bell cow there if they actually let him get the carries. Justin Jackson, number 4 here. Chargers are going to still run a 2-back offense. He's going to be the complement to Josh Kelly, the starter. He's going to take over that Eckler role. I'm wanting him on my team because I fear Eckler could be out for the rest of the fantasy season. Justin Jackson stays healthy. He's going to be viable. After him, Chase Edmonds, again, probably taken in most of your leagues, but if he isn't, he's going to come in right there. His viability is based on the Kenyon Drake injury. Justin Jackson, somebody that's going to be sliding in immediately. Damian Harris is going to be sliding in immediately. Chase Edmonds is going to require Kenyon Drake to go down to be startable. But with his injury, it's something that could happen. We just don't know, and we won't know till tomorrow. So if you really need a running back, you have Drake. I'm grabbing Edmonds. I'm using a waiver claim no matter what. And then 6, Dearness Johnson. He came in, looked really good in replacement of Chubb. Again, he was rushing against the Cowboys defense, but he still did 13 for 95, got the touches. Stefanski, like I said, is going to want to run the ball, keep running the ball. We see the best out of Baker Mayfield when he's on, running, play action, getting outside the pocket, rolling out, looking at Odell Beckham, finding Landry. Hooper looked better last week. Again, it was the Cowboys defense, and they are historically looking like what could quite possibly be the worst defense that's ever existed. But still, he's going to get 10 to 12 touches a week. And if Hunt goes down, you're talking about a top 10 running back. We don't hope for injuries, but again, we're looking at future potential, not hey, what could this person do, week in, week out. On the backside, Tim Patrick, he looks like the top receiver there in Denver. He's seen the most targets, I want to say 3 weeks in a row. Judy looked great. He's going to be a good compliment to him. Fant looks like he's going to be banged up, might miss this week, has a high ankle sprain. Patrick got the end zone looks. He's the big receiver. He could be that compliment to Judy, kind of play that role that we thought Cortland Sutton would play coming into this year. So, hey, again, depending where you're at, late, if you need somebody, again, I'm not using a waiver claim unless I absolutely have to, but he's somebody worth owning if you need a big receiver that's going to get you 5 to 6 catches a game. Probably going to look at 70 yards. It's going to be touchdown dependent. So, but Drew Lock comes back, he's going to need these big guys to throw to. So again, we never know. Depth is key. And if you have guys that are hurt and you're like, hey, I don't feel we're good about them. I like Tim Patrick more than Marvin Jones right now. I'm not rostering Marvin Jones at this point. So it's people like that I would want to replace with Tim Patrick. And then last but not least, Dalton Schultz. He's got 24 targets through 3 games. He's been a target machine. Dak loves to throw to the tight end there in Dallas. As you can see, Dallas is going to have to score 50 points a week to win the games. So all these guys are going to get targets. He's set up because he's going to be getting linebacker coverage with Gallup, Lamb, and Cooper there. Zeke out of the backfield. He's always going to benefit from that. He's a top 10 tight end. If you had somebody like roll his ankle, don't like the production you're seeing out of your tight end. Again, Schultz is there. He's probably should be owned and started every week at this point because of the target share he's getting. So yeah, we're roughly a quarter of the way through the season. We have a lot to go. 8-9 weeks of regular season play to go. You're going to see the trades start to pick up. It's what I've been, a lot of my conversations have been, this week about, trading big name players. We got, based on how some of these drafts were set up, some people are a little lopsided on the running back side to the receiver side. Again, we're here to help if you want to, work through it. We have an inbox if you want to shoot a note to it. We have a number we want to call it to it. We're gonna put this. We'll put it out there
down
for
below.
you guys. Yeah, look down below. We'll have it there. So if you have any questions, we'll be on top of that inbox. So aside from that, best of luck on the waiver wire this week, guys. Stay tuned to shoot your shot sports. Week 5 this Thursday night picks from Thrive Fantasy. As always, promo code Lifeline. Want to wish everybody well, and hey, beware of those bye weeks, and hope you can stay alive. Long season, going to be a lot of injuries. We're in for a roller coaster, man.
All right, man. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, don't forget promo code Lifeline. Download Thrive Fantasy app today, and then we'll see the picks on Thursday. All right, guys.
Awesome. Have a good one. We'll see y'all later.
Have a good one, guys.